continues, and so does the counting of the dead.
NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening from San Francisco. This is the Marina District neighborhood. It was the hardest hit residential area in San Francisco. It is believed that between 3 and 5 people died in that apartment house right back there. Although I must tell you, most of the damage in San Francisco has been confined to this area, which is about 4 square miles altogether. I made a helicopter tour today of the entire Bay Area, and the greatest damage was right here on the Oakland Bay Bridge and, of course, on Interstate 880. Yet, more than 272 people are believed to have died. The death toll could go over 300 before we're all through. Damage, more than $1 billion. Yet tonight's the good news as well. San Francisco airports are open, although congestion, we're told, is very heavy. And in the city of San Francisco and in many of the outlying communities, service is being restored. They expect to have full power in San Francisco before the end of this day. It was a devastating earthquake nonetheless, 7.0 on the Richter scale. This is the full range of its effects. It reached all the way into Nevada, as far south as Southern California. The epicenter was in the Santa Cruz area. The San Francisco Bay Area, of course, with its larger concentration of people, suffered the most. And the single greatest hit occurred on the Oakland Bay Bridge in approach to Interstate 880. A long section of that collapsed during the peak of the rush hour, and several hundred people were probably killed. NBC's George Lewis is standing by there right now. George, I know that the rescue operations continue, and it is difficult to know just how many people were killed. What are they saying now about the estimated death toll?
Right now, Tom, they have 10 confirmed dead. This was not supposed to happen. California's bridges and freeway abutments are reinforced to make them earthquake resistant, but this time it failed.
Perhaps as many as 150 to 250 cars and their occupants were crushed when the top deck of the freeway collapsed onto a lower deck. It happened at the worst possible time, evening rush hour. This morning, firemen hoisted their ladders up to the structure looking for victims. Paramedics with specially trained dogs searched for signs of life and found none. Jackhammers were called in to begin the task of breaking up the rubble. It will be some time before the exact death toll is known.
The number of missing persons at this time reported to Oakland is 86.
Dan Ruby waits by the freeway. His son, one of the missing.
And I've been here since 6 this morning, so I couldn't sleep. So I figured rather than stay up and walk around like a zombie, I just come down here and see if I could do something.
Yesterday afternoon, just after the collapse, the scene was chaos. Bystanders rushed in to help rescue the victims, risking their own lives in the process.
I seen the freeway started dropping, like dominoes, I seen it just start dropping like layers, People were panicking.
When we first went in, there was cars that were on fire and smoking, dust all over the place, and people saying, help me, help me.
People were dead all around you. It was just too traumatic and awesome of an experience to relate to anyone right now.
The collapsed freeway section is east of the San Francisco Bay Bridge, connecting the bridge to downtown Oakland. A section of the bridge itself caved in during the quake, tossing cars and people into the bay, crushing others. This home video shows what it was like atop the bridge as the quake hit. A moment of sheer terror. Authorities say it will be at least 3 weeks before the bridge reopens, completely disrupting life for thousands of Bay Area commuters.
And late this afternoon, the Transportation Secretary Samuel Skinner said it would probably be a year and a half before this section of freeway is reopened. Meanwhile, state officials have promised a thorough investigation of why it collapsed. Tom?
George, I think that there are, more than 300,000 people who commute from East Oakland into the San Francisco area every day. They're going to have some means of getting to work. Are there any alternative plans at this time?
They're talking about reinforcing BART, the Bay Area Rapid Transit System, the subway that goes under the bay. Apparently, it was not heavily damaged by the quake. They're hoping to lay on extra trains throughout the day and night. They're talking about going to a 24-hour schedule, but it's still going to mean a major disruption for the people who live here.
They're going to have the San Francisco equivalent of Dunkirk with a lot of boats, perhaps, as well.
Well, they've got ferry boats now lined up to take people back and forth across the bay, hearkening back to the days before the Bay Bridge and before the BART system.
All right, thank you very much, George Lewis, tonight. in Oakland. San Francisco, of course, is the heart of the Bay Area, and this is a city that was leveled by a great earthquake and fires in 1906. This time, it came through in much better condition, but this neighborhood, it's called the Marina District, was hard hit. It is built on a floodplain hard by the Golden Gate Bridge and the Presidio, for those of you who are familiar with the San Francisco area. And these are elegant homes, many of them built more than 60 years ago. We get a report tonight on what's been going on in San Francisco from NBC's Don Oliver.
Most of San Francisco remained undamaged after the quake, but power was still out in the downtown area today. Without signals, traffic was snarled. One area of the city was hit hard, the Marina, not far from the Golden Gate Bridge. Thousands of curious poured into the neighborhood to stare at the warped and twisted buildings. And watch firemen continue to pour water on the remains of an apartment building and 2 homes. Most of San Francisco, the hilly part, is built on solid rock. But this was once part of San Francisco Bay. It's all reclaimed land. The quake turned it into a bowl of jello, and 4-story buildings were shook to the ground. The fires were believed to have resulted from broken natural gas lines. During the night, rescue workers looked for survivors in the damaged buildings and guarded against looters. Today, Mayor Art Agnos said the citizens of San Francisco were well behaved.
The crime was way below average. The bookings were down, the arrests were down.
Today, the grim search for bodies began. They used chainsaws to attempt to clear away the debris, but finally gave up, saying the job was too dangerous. They know that the bodies of 2 people are in this building, but firemen are reluctant to go after them.
This was a 4-story building. There's only 2 stories above the ground now. How are you going to get at them? And we can't risk sending a crew in if this is going to topple over.
Vice President Quayle toured the area by helicopter and then surveyed the marina damage from the ground. He promised quick federal assistance. Residents were warned not to enter buildings in the marina until they are judged to be safe. Some took great chances anyway in order to salvage their belongings. Everyone is concerned about a big aftershock knocking damaged buildings to the ground.
Please use the sidewalk so we can get emergency vehicles into this area.
Despite the warnings, the crowds continued to pour into the marina to see for themselves what the second worst earthquake in the nation's history had done to the city by the bay. Don Oliver, NBC News, San Francisco.
Altogether, damage was scattered over a 100-mile area of the San Francisco Bay. Santa Cruz, which is right on the Pacific Ocean, about 75 miles south of here, near Monterey and Carmel, was the epicenter. And NBC's Roger O'Neill is there tonight.
The earthquake moved down Pacific Avenue in Santa Cruz with a vengeance. Most of the 60 stores in the 6-block-long Garden Mall were destroyed. 2 people were killed there.
We are in for a long-term rebuilding project in this community, both residentially and commercially. We need to hang together, and we're going to do that.
The oceanfront community may not get its electricity back for 3 days. The water supply is contaminated, and the sewers aren't working. Only a handful of stores were open today. Residents spent hours waiting in line to buy bottled water and bread. Only 1 customer at a time was served.
Fluid, hot dogs, Pepsi, 6-pack root beer, bread, chips.
Earthen dam reservoirs, though, in the mountains above the town held. It was the only good news Santa Cruz had.
I don't know if this isn't the big one. I don't know what would be left of this town if we got anything bigger than what we had.
The National Guard was activated to help police patrol the streets. County officials said damages here, where the earthquake started, would exceed $500 million. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Santa Cruz.
California has 6 nuclear power plants altogether, none of them damaged by the earthquake. Rancho Seco, which is near Sacramento, just north of here, and Diablo, just south of here, are open and doing business. The federal government is deeply involved in the emergency rescue operation going on here. President Bush has declared 7 counties in Northern California federal disaster areas. NBC's Robert Hager in Washington has been following that part of the story.
In Washington, an army of federal and private workers began organizing a huge relief effort. President Bush, who will visit the scene late this week, grabbed a phone himself at one point.
Jeff, who's the president? How is it doing out there? What are you getting a lot of requests for emergency medical service?
The Red Cross is offering nurses, medicine, blood, and setting up shelters. The U.S. military is standing by to help clear debris if needed. The Agriculture Department is making surplus food available. And FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, will take applications for financial help. Grants of up to $10,000 to hard-hit individuals, along with money for temporary housing and to repair homes, highways, and bridges. FEMA's Grant Peterson on his workers' efforts so far.
And I'm proud of what they have done under the most disastrous, compounding, continual, catastrophic events to hit the United States in a century.
Peterson refers to twin disasters. Hurricane Hugo first, now the earthquake, guaranteed to cost the U.S. government well over the $1.1 billion allocated so far. And the earthquake alone may cost insurance companies another $1 billion, according to industry sources.
FEMA says it'll set up claim offices for people in California within several days and promise to act on requests in about a week. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
It is also worth noting that in recent years, federal money for removing earthquake hazards has been significantly reduced. In a moment, we'll come back with the story of the Earthquake World Series. What happens now? Back in a moment.
I'm Mary Alice Williams, NBC News, New York. Baseball Commissioner Fay Vincent has announced tonight that he expects the World Series to resume next Tuesday in San Francisco's Candlestick Park. Vincent said that structural repairs are being made at Candlestick. He said he wants to have total confidence in the stadium that 62,000 fans will be safe. The earthquake, of course, struck just before last night's game was to begin. The Oakland A's hold a 2-0 lead over the San Francisco Giants. We get more on the Quake series tonight from NBC's Bob Jameson.
The earthquake hit Candlestick when most of the 60,000 fans were in their seats for the pregame ceremony. There was an immediate power failure and an abrupt end to television transmission. The huge stadium rocked and girders bent, but there was no panic, not even in the upper reaches of the ballpark. When the tremor ended, most fans and ball players sat or stood, stunned by the suddenness and force of the shock.
I've lived here all my life, and it never scared me in an earthquake. That was the first one that scared me.
I'm just a little shook up by the whole thing, you know.
There was an orderly exit, some fans carrying chunks of concrete shaken loose by the quake. The quake also damaged Oakland's Coliseum, raising the prospect that neither ballpark would be safe for fans. Baseball officials immediately began exploring an unprecedented move of the series from its home ballparks to a neutral city. But Commissioner Fay Vincent, in a hotel meeting room illuminated by candles, said baseball officials were not ready to take that step.
We've made the decision not to play tonight. That's the only decision we made.
And Vincent said the demands of the Bay Area's response to the tragedy would play as important a role in his final decision as the condition of the ballpark.
We do not want to put baseball ahead of other priorities that deserve attention.
At Vincent's direction, structural engineers made extensive examinations of both ballparks today. Bob Jameson, NBC News, San Francisco.
It does die hard. When I suggested to one San Franciscan that maybe they could move the World Series to a neutral site like Dodger Stadium, she said to me, "Los Angeles, are you kidding? No way." On Wall Street today, there was some selling off of insurance companies as a result of the earthquake, but it was only a ripple, and the Dow ended up closing higher. This San Francisco experience, of course, will only raise more questions about the science of predicting earthquakes and seismology. We have more on that tonight from NBC News science correspondent Robert Bazell.
San Francisco's 1906 earthquake was 30 times more powerful than the one that struck yesterday. Scientists do not classify yesterday's earthquake as catastrophic.
This is exactly the type of earthquakes that we've been expecting to occur in the San Francisco area. Last year, there were reports put out that there was a 30% chance within the next 10 to 30 years or so that this type of earthquake would occur in the Bay Area.
The portion of the San Andreas Fault that caused yesterday's quake is to the south of the region responsible for the 1906 disaster. Faults appear underground in places where huge sections of the earth, called plates, push together. As the plates move slowly over many years, pressure builds up until, like yesterday, it is released suddenly. The scientists expect aftershocks for many days, but in the long term, they say, the danger from that portion of that fault is lessened. Researchers point out that much of the Bay Area is landfill, where there used to be water, and that is where the worst damage occurred. When the quake struck bedrock, it jerked sharply, but caused little damage. But the landfill, which is soft, rolled in waves, so damage was more severe. Scientists say that the next catastrophic earthquake they expect will strike not in the Bay Area, but in Southern California.
I believe that we're going to have to take very seriously the possibility of and the probability of earthquakes in other parts of California.
The scientists expect that earthquake will cause massive damage. Robert Bazell, NBC News.
When the earthquake struck in Armenia, more than 25,000 people were killed there, of course, and the United States offered and delivered assistance. Well, today, Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev offered the assistance of the Soviet Union to the people of Northern California. There was also an offer of assistance from Japan, which has had a lot of experience with earthquakes, of course, and at the same time, Japan has a large cultural and financial investment in this area. We'll be back with more after this. In other news tonight, in East Germany, a major event on the political seismic scale, the resignation of Erich Honecker as that country's Communist Party leader. Profound change. NBC's Arthur Kent tonight in East Germany.
An active communist from the age of 8, Erich Honecker left power today as the symbol of all that is wrong in East Germany. It was Honecker who supervised building of the Berlin Wall. Honecker who resisted Gorbachev's perestroika and whose resignation was demanded by angry East Germans in this month's pro-reform demonstrations. Reformers welcome his departure, but complain that his replacement, Egon Krenz, is no improvement. Krenz said tonight East Germany can no longer resist Gorbachev-style reforms, but by reputation he's a hardliner reluctant to change.
There will be modifications, slices of reform, if you will, that is always very well calculated.
At reform rallies like this one last night in Dresden, Krenz and top party members are declared unacceptable to lead reform. Here, city authorities have tried to silence protests by talking with citizen groups. But the message for the people of Dresden is clear. We will wait peacefully for change, but we will not wait forever. So unless Egon Krenz, the hardliner, becomes an overnight convert to reform, East Germany's political crisis could deepen, not fade away. Arthur Kent, NBC News, Dresden, East Germany.
On the California coast, an earthquake on the Florida coast, the successful launch of the shuttle Atlantis today.
We have ignition and liftoff of Atlantis and the Galileo spacecraft bound for Jupiter.
Atlantis thundered into orbit with the nuclear-powered Galileo on board. Galileo will be released this evening for its 6-year journey to Jupiter. Clear skies let cameras on the ground get dramatic pictures of the shuttle's separation from its booster rockets. The shuttle is scheduled to return to Earth next Monday. And we'll return to San Francisco with the story of this city's unique residents in just a moment. Two views of San Francisco tonight. This residential area closed off because of earthquake damage. And at the end of the street, Golden Gate Bridge. The risk and reward of living in this beautiful city. A city that is very difficult to leave even after an earthquake. Here is NBC's Bob Dotson.
1801 Beach Street looks like a piece from a child's board game that ended angrily. Police lines warned neighbors not to risk their lives. But Aideen Murphy couldn't get home last night. All she has in the world was in her apartment, 4 flights up these rickety stairs.
I lived through the Battle of Britain in London.
She passed Barbara Stinn, who lives on the 2nd floor. Barbara retired here from Cleveland just last month to be near her son, Brad.
How did you convince him to come here?
Great weather, easy walking distance, no problems. I like it.
Brad Stinn crosses the Bay Bridge every day at 5.
Stay here and watch the stuff.
He left early yesterday to go to the series. Missed the bridge's collapse by 8 minutes. Remarkably, no one was injured here.
It is harder to be brave the day after reason returns and the sun
reveals the odds.
But Aideen pressed on. An earthquake is different from other disasters. No warning, no wind, no rain. Just 15 seconds of terror that snatches the rug from under your life. When the biggest piece of your life sits cracked in the street, you search for something the shifting earth did not touch.
It made it.
Aideen bought $2,000 worth of Wedgwood china last week.
Oh, wow, it's okay.
She invited us back for tea someday. She says she'll stay in San Francisco. Bob Dotson, NBC News, in the Tilted House on Beach Street.
Everyone feels a claim on San Francisco, even people who have never visited this city. After all, its transcendent beauty and style makes us all proud, whatever our hometown. And I can tell you as well that we should be doubly proud tonight given the conduct of San Franciscans and people throughout the Bay Area in the face of this tragedy and major disruption of their lives. Can you believe this? In intersections, no traffic lights, and yet calmness prevails. Courtesy is the word of the day. I don't know what it's like where you live, but in New York City, not a chance. Tonight at 10, 9 Central Time, we'll have a special report. The earthquake aftershock. I'll see you then. For now, I'm Tom Brokaw, NBC News in San Francisco. Thank you for joining us.